into the agenda. Hey folks, thanks so much for stopping by for this week's static analysis front-end sync meeting. Let me quickly get the agenda up. Here we go. Just a brief disclaimer before we jump into this is going to be my or our last front-end sync meeting before I'll be gone for another round of parental leave. I'll be out starting today in a week. And I'll be gone for about 5 more weeks. So this meeting will also kind of let's use it for a little bit of a status quo where we're currently at. Any kind of handovers, any open questions that could be coming up in that time where I'll be gone. And then yeah, let's see what we're gonna be picking up when I return. So first point that I put on the agenda is just a general status update on the enhanced secure merge request experience epic. It's still a little clumsy with the name, but says inline findings. That's kind of definitely what we're still focusing on very much at this point. Iteration 1 is moving fast with quite a bit of progress. I'm super happy with the last couple of weeks on this. The iteration 1 does have 7 issues in total, and 4 of them are already closed out. 1 is in progress and 2 still remain open. So for this, for the amount of weeks that we've been working on this, or that this was ready for dev, I think that's quite something. Super happy. Iteration 2 so far is mostly untouched, but the good news about it is that as far as I can tell by now, I'm pretty sure it is completely ready for dev once iteration 1 is resolved. Or to rephrase this, I am not aware of any blockers. That doesn't mean that we'll be running into issues, but from today we should be okay with this. My goal for this week until I'll be out is mainly to polish those implementation plans as far as I can. Not too sure if anybody will pick those issues up in the time I'll be out, but if I want to make sure that they have the best possible experience, and even if not, it will make my life easier as well if we do have all the details we can find in there. So yeah, that is my focus point for this week. Yeah.
Oh, just was about to lead into a question. For iteration 2, did you I'm looking through the issue list. Is there any backend work that would be required for iteration 2 at the moment?
Perfect question, and the answer is, as far as I can see, no. It is let me just quickly get up the design issue, because there's one small detail that we have to clarify with that. Before I jump in there, with the backend issues in iteration 1, which is basically putting all the endpoints that we're having for SAST and code quality to a what's the word for it? To a GraphQL query that we're going to be using from all the consumers, and yeah, to a more generalized approach. So that should be good for complete iteration 2. The only thing which I am slightly uncertain of is a small detail in the drawer. There we go. So this is drawer number 1. It's going to be the static analysis drawer, and we can basically, we do have all the tools we need to build this out, since this is already being taken care of in the static analysis model that we're currently having. But for the code quality drawer, which will hopefully come up in a second. There we go. I do see some issues coming up as if they were not taken care of yet. And that is basically this additional information as if in training, the action, whether or not we want to create an issue about this or dismiss it, like basically code quality issue handling. So what I'm trying to say is this would be extra features in terms of code quality, which I personally think would definitely be out of scope, out of this iteration for now. If we agree on this and basically just stick with what we're currently having, like with the code quality feature set and displaying the details, then I really don't have any idea where we would need some additional backend support in iteration 2.
That makes sense to me. And I think you and I have talked about this before, but remind me again, do you know if these two buttons exist in the MR widget itself? Or anywhere else in the customer experience that they might use these buttons?
They do
outside of the vulnerability report. Sorry.
No worries. They do for oh, sorry, I'm on a static analysis draw one more time. What I'm trying to say is they do for static analysis, and it does make a ton of sense and will be able to support this. They don't for code quality. And that is kind of the feature creep is a hard word, but it is like just introducing another button won't do the trick here. That's kind of that is the point I'm trying to make. So this is definitely something. There we go. Okay. I have to be more precise with what I'm saying. So it's basic. Those buttons don't matter too much, but training, that is the thing. That is the information that we currently don't have available anywhere.
Okay.
So that is probably the only point of concern. Training for sure, maybe even status. Location is sorted, tool is sorted, description all good. Training and status we'll see. But one more time, I really think that we should be taking care of this. But I don't think that we should do this in this iteration as if this is more of just another feature that we're going to be adding to the drawer, where in this iteration we'll actually be worrying about adding the drawer and making sure that we're displaying the information we're already having.
Gotcha. Okay. So to summarize, status, training, and then for SAS, the dismissal reason and create issue is out of scope for iteration 2. Does that sound about right?
Almost. For code quality, status, and training are out of scope for iteration 2. And that is about it. For SAS, for static analysis, we're fully covered. Because that is already taken care of in the current merge request model, and all those endpoints, all the logic for this is already there. So it's just up to us to actually use it. So yeah, that's going to be a rather easy implementation.
Cool. Thanks for clarifying that.
Absolutely. Sweet. So quickly moving on to the next point. Just some short two FYIs. First one is different than previously communicated. The SAST inline findings and the detailed raw are now living behind only one feature flag, which is going to be the already popularly known SAS reports in inline diff flag. Maybe we should be thinking about renaming this one more time, because the scope of this is growing quite a bit. But names aside, this is our flag for now. This is what we're going to be needing for to toggle things and to roll this out. The separate drawer flag did make sense at one point in previous revisions of this, but it really didn't anymore. And it was a front-end flag only so far. So I removed it. And yeah, looking forward to this will make our rollout process much less complex. So just if you heard this before, it's only one flag to worry about now. Cool. Moving on, if there are no questions about the flags. So another thing, just as a quick FYI, the refactoring of the SAST MR widget drawer. So this is basically about here we go. Yeah, this is the screen I'm looking for. So in this scenario with the static analysis MR widget, and clicking on one of those details, what you're currently seeing is a model which does have all these features, and we are going to be refactoring this thing to not use a model, but a drawer. Interestingly enough, this is a little more complex than we sort of in the very initial plan, because there is currently another refactoring going on which introduces two different models. I did my very best to describe all the details and the implementation plans. I'm not going to go into all of them by now, but the TLDR is, it really depends when this thing will be picked up. If we're going to be picking this thing up rather shortly, then we might have to deal with this other feature flag from Thread Insights is currently working on. So we might have to double a little bit of work that we're going to be supporting both versions with our drawer. So this might be happening. If Thread Insights is fast enough or we are slow enough, whatever it might be, then we might be sorted. But this is just something that I ran into when investigating on the implementation plans, and something to keep in mind, and yeah, not to forget about it. So there's currently some work in progress going on, and it's definitely affecting our refactoring to the drawer.
Do you know if there's an estimate on, you mentioned the work was in progress. Do you know if there's an estimate on when they're expecting to complete that?
Let me see in the issue what I did is I had a quick what he mentioned is that he would be for, and yeah, and I mentioned David and Thiago on the issue. So that is about all I know, like as if in doing our very best to resolve these things in 16.4, but that is no guarantee.
That makes sense. Okay, so that then this specific view is going to be dependent on that one that you just mentioned. Other than that, there's nothing really else stopping us from getting started here, is what you're saying?
Yes, very much so. And honestly, I don't think that it would, if we would start with this right away, it would be a little bit of extra work, but not too much. Like I would argue, before we let us block once there and wait it out, it'll probably be worth it to spend like the extra day or two or whatever it might be. The most important thing about this is that we don't forget about it and only take care of one version, and then yeah, Thread Insights is going to be flipping the flag, and we'll be looking like, okay, wait, what? So that is the most important thing here, that we actually are aware of it. And depending on the timing, I think either approach is definitely doable and shouldn't require too much of extra work here.
That works. Cool. Thank you.
Cool. Another one, and a fun one. Can you folks maybe help me out with discussing a good name for the epic that we're now that we're talking about for the whole time? So it was Enhanced Secure Merge Request Experience, and I came up with it. I kind of like it, but it is arguably very generic, as if it just could be anything. Connor changed it to show SAS results in the MR changes tab to make them easier to understand and triage, which is absolutely not wrong. It in my opinion, just doesn't reflect the whole story, as if in this is not only about the MR changes tab, so it is not taking care about all those drawers and the descriptions, and also not about about the MR widget, which is, what is the tab called though? Overview or something, I think. Overview, yes. So that is why I'm currently on the hunt for a better name for it, and a more telling. So yeah, happy to take this async as well, but any other ideas on this will be appreciated, since naming things is hard, as we all know.
Yeah, I think that's a great call out. The couple things that come to mind, like this first iteration, might be SaaS findings. We're going to be moving on to code quality findings after. Then, in addition to that, do you know if there's additional scope for us that we would want to include as a part of this epic, or is the overall scope for this primary epic that we're looking to rename just SaaS and code quality findings?
The not entirely sure if I fully understood that question, but from what I get is, so the current scope that we're having in this epic is about as is. And I would say if we're working on anything else that might add on to this, there would hopefully be a different epic as well. As if I would argue the current state of this is quite a round approach, and it is a digestible chunk of user experience. So I can hardly think of anything other than small details and changes that we really want to add still. Like it feels big enough by now.
That makes sense. I guess maybe let me rephrase the question. What do you think is missing from the epic name that is not captured within the scope itself right now?
Gotcha. So the drawer and the findings details, and the MR widget, the refactoring of the MR widget.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's a fair point, or that would be a proposal, like show SaaS result in the MR changes tab to make them easier to understand and triage, and take care of the drawer description and the MR widget. It might become a little long, but
yeah,
it's just hard.
Do we like maybe even the issue description? Do we think that that's capturing all of those changes as well? Like right now, I think it says key changes include updating the existing code quality results displayed in the changes tab to match your designs, adding SaaS findings. Do we maybe want to use that as like a starting point to capture all of the additional elements that might be updated as a part of this change?
Yeah, I like this approach. That might be something.
And then from there, maybe we could use that. If it's not clear with the title and the description, we can maybe try to workshop it a little further.
Yeah, I really like that. So takeaway from this is I would want to polish this description once more and make absolutely sure that everything is included in there. And from there, try to find the best sounding title as well, which will be a challenge in itself, but I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, maybe we also tag in Connor for another round of wordsmithing, since he's really good at that too.
Love it. Yeah, I just mentioned him in the agenda. So that is definitely something that let's see if he will still make it to this call. Other than that, let's try to keep this async and see what he's having.
That works.
Awesome. Which brings me to my very last question for today. Amar and I, we figured in our last one-on-one that the security MR widget is actually not lying in our group, which does make sense in a way, but it's also a little interesting. So what I would want to discuss is that something that we feel like that is absolutely great, or is that something that we might want to be changing? My 2 cents on this, it is not the static analysis MR widget, it is the secure MR widget, which does combine features from a lot of teams within Secure, so it does make sense. I would probably propose that maybe we're gonna be splitting this thing up, as if in, like, I don't feel like such a feature would have to be exclusive to one of our groups. So this really feels like a shared feature, and maybe we can update the product page to represent that.
Yeah, agreed there. It isn't, I think last time we searched for it, we didn't really see that it was owned by anyone, correct? Like there wasn't really much clarity on this page around that.
Let me try to find. I recall correctly, it was within Thread Insights or something. I'm pretty sure. Like, I remember that the naming was slightly off.
Oh yeah, security scan summary in merge requests. I think if you yeah, does that
Yeah,
sound right?
awesome. Yeah, jackpot. That is so. This thing is not called MR widget like other widgets are. Maybe we can be consistent in there. And yeah, I would argue that this thing probably does deserve to be mentioned in more than only Thread Insights.
Say that again.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to like add my 2 cents here. I think looking at the code as well for on the back end side at least, like where we specify feature categories, I think in a lot of classes, there has been like this divide as well. Like sometimes it's vulnerability management and sometimes it's something related to us. So that's definitely a good point. I agree we should at least mention this somewhere.
Okay, so if I hear you correctly, what I'm taking away is basically two to-dos. That would be, first step would be to rename the security scan summary in merge request to MR widget, just to make our lives easier. And this is kind of a term that they were using for this. And then to add it, to keep it in, where is it currently? Thread Insights? Yeah. Keep it in Thread Insights and additionally add it to static analysis. That would be my proposal.
I think if we add it to static analysis as well, we should be clear on our boundaries of what specifically, like what part of the MR widget we're responsible for. I think that might cause confusion if it is shown on two different places. The way that I see it is if somebody from support or customer success is looking for questions or looking where to place questions, they might see the MR widget in two different groups and not know where to open up customer issues or place their customer questions. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. It doesn't make sense. Only thing that I would be bringing up for this is it's can only be speaking for the client side here, but for the client side, it is actually pretty tricky to fraud align. Like for example, for static analysis, we're now refactoring the findings model to be used as a findings drawer. This model is the exact same whether we be speaking for SAST or DAST. So like for the components that we're using in the front end. So it does make sense that this is on our plate, as if in like designers coming up and say, let's change this for static analysis. But on the other hand, to still be consistent within the MR widget, we are also touching dust related stuff. It's just what it is at this point. So I don't know about the backend parts of it. Maybe there the separation would make much more sense. But from the client side, it's super hard to actually throw the line, since it's all the same components, just different endpoints that we're consuming.
Yeah, that makes sense. How about we possibly just start with the proposal, like with changing that product page? And I think our best bet might be just starting a conversation with Alana and Connor in that issue, or in that merge request, and just saying, here's what we're thinking, here's why we're doing this change. And then we could probably get clarity on if they want to adjust it in any other way. Does that make sense?
It does make a lot of sense. I definitely love the idea. Can you just help me out? One person was Connor and the other one was?
Yeah, it's Alana. She's the PM for Threat Insights, and I will link that here.
Can you just help me on the agenda? That'd be great.
Yeah. Here you go.
Awesome.
And then, yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I'm taking this Connie Cone snowballs, almost. So I'm taking this with me as a to-do to actually bring up this MR, and then let's have this discussion in there.
Perfect.
Awesome. These are the questions that have been on top of my head. So Ahmed, you're also having points on the agenda. What's up, first?
Yeah. I just added like this item last week after submitting the draft merge request for the issue for adding code quality or the code quality field in the merge request queries, GraphQL queries, in order for front end to be able to fetch like this data basically. So the merge request has been, I haven't updated this yet, but it has been reviewed by a backend reviewer so far. It's pending review, so let me just update this. It's currently been reviewed by technical writing and backend maintainer. But other than this, everything is in place. We should have it like merged sometime soon. The next step is to roll out this feature completely, and that's maybe you know, a topic to discuss how we wanna do or like kind of coordinate the rolling out of this feature on the front end side and the back end side. My understanding is that given we have one feature flag at the moment, that should not pose like a lot of challenges. But yeah, if there are like any concerns you have, Yannick, or like Amar as well on this point, please let me know as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So my 2 cents, like first, thanks so much for the excellent work on this. I already checked the MR out in a pretty early state, but those queries all worked for me, and yeah, looked amazing. So thanks for sticking with that. Regarding the rollout, there is one concern that I'm having, and we should be a little careful about it, is that so the backend and the client side are using the exact same feature flag, so there is no we can't just roll out the query, it's going to be the whole package. The concern that I'm having is regarding the user experience. So what we're doing for the inline findings in the new approach is we are truncating the findings description quite a bit. What I'm trying to say is in iteration 1, we are not having any detailed drawers to show to our users, but we're having like this massively shortened finding descriptions, which will be an issue for our users. Long story short, I really think that we should finish iteration 2 before we can really roll this out. And by really, I mean like globally, as I don't have any problems with rolling this out on any pet projects, maybe even on prod if we need to. I would be careful with enabling it for our monolith project, because I see people still running into. So yeah, long story short, for the best user experience, we do need both iterations in here, and therefore we should be a little careful and hesitant with the rollout. You're muted, Ahmed.
Yeah, sorry. I think that makes a lot of sense. I agree. We could move the rollout issue to be like done, or the full global rollout be done when iteration 2 is done. For testing this out, like there has been like this idea as well on maybe benchmarking how the endpoints work at the moment, or like benchmarking their responses, especially as we move away from like using the old endpoints that were discussed the last time, the REST endpoints, and that if we have the time to do this kind of thing, I think that would be very helpful. And since we will be doing the full rollout in iteration 2, I think we have the time essentially. So that's good from my point of view. I think that makes sense, and let's do it like that.
Awesome. Yeah, highly appreciated. This sounds like also benchmarking. This sounds like a good idea. On that note, if you're okay, just a question out of curiosity. So mainly about code quality. For now, we are coming from a REST endpoint which had to be pulled. It took a lot of time. It made a lot of problems, as if in no content responses for a long time, usually the longest time on the MR widget. Now to one query from what I have been able to see or test has been working quite good and fast at the same point. Like, how was that? It's like, from what I can tell, it looks amazing, but how did we manage to sort this out?
So thank you for for the feedback. I really appreciate it. I think what was taking too long to produce every time was or like what was making it taking too long was this thing I explained in my comment on the earlier issue for iteration 1, where like we were taking some sort of like a shortened version of code quality degradations and putting them in an artifact, and then like pulling them from the artifact and displaying them. So that kind of process was the reason why we had some kind of performance degradation, let's say, in one way or the other. So it was taking a lot of time, in my opinion. The old way was taking a lot of time to process things. Without really like adding a lot of like benefits, and if we were to say so. Yeah, I think that's just like taking this out of the process, more or less, like not relying on the artifacts, maybe was the reason why you were seeing this noticeable increase in speed, more or less. So I suppose that's how it works better now.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for clarifying. And what I'm hearing that is we're definitely, or we are confident that this is this update in performance does not come by surprise, and we'll actually be able to deliver this experience on prod as well. So this is not a GDK thing.
Yeah, that's true. Nice. Should be the case.
Awesome. That is fantastic news. Really cool. Sweet. Welcome, Connor. We're almost done with our agenda, but we do have a handful of questions that we collected for you to check out. So
before we jump to those, I just had one more question for Ahmed as well, related to the benchmarking and the rollout. I think previously one of the issues was also related to the size of the report. I know it's somewhere in the issue, but could you just explain that part again of how that is affected with this new rollout strategy?
So the way it worked was, as I was trying to explain like earlier, was that we took one report, like code quality report, and kind of like shortened this to some smaller format, like less, or like maybe a few attributes, let's say, and then saved this shorter format into an artifact, and then like the artifact was pulled and kind of like not decoded, but kind of like, we fetch the data from the artifact every time that we were displaying these code quality degradations and the merge request changes tab. And the benchmarking I meant was to kind of like try to see if there is or like to run both endpoints, like the old one with the artifacts creation and fetching of data from the artifact, as I discussed, like to benchmark this against the one where we are doing this over GraphQL without any kind of like touching artifacts at all. Just we generate the revert and we display it, or like we send it over. That's what I had in plan, like kind of do some, as I said, like some benchmarking between both endpoints, see how this with the same kind of revert, how both endpoints would measure, let's say, against each other. That was my idea there. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that does. That makes sense. And that also kind of give us something to also show. I know the last time this was rolled out, it affected Threat Insights, their budget. So with this benchmarking, we could show like, hey, we've done these tests. Here's why we think we're confident in this change, and here's what our rollout strategy is. That way we can keep them informed while we're doing the rollout, and they have the data there. So if they have any other questions, they can definitely reach out. So appreciate that thought on the benchmarking. I think that's going to be very useful.
Thank you.
Wait, one specific thing there. A code quality thing hit the Threat Insights budget?
As far as I understand, the reason why this happened was because some of the stuff that was like specifically one of the questions I think that was raised by Yannick earlier today, because one of the features we have, which is like this secure MR widget, is actually split, or most of it is under vulnerability management feature category. So I think that was the reason why, when we had these errors earlier, that's why it affected their error budget, if I understood correctly.
Yeah, there's somehow being attributed to Threat Insights error budget. I think the endpoint that we're using is a shared one, if I'm not mistaken, or we were using is a shared one, and therefore it was hitting Threat Insights error budget.
Okay.
So
yeah, I was asking
Mehmet, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, it just makes sense if it's related to SAST, because like they maintain the APIs for SAST in general, but for code quality, that's not that was why I was asking. But like I'm consistently taking it as a follow-ups, or like wait till it if it fails again, we'll find out.
Yeah, for sure. But that's a good segue into one of the two questions we had. Yannick, you take it away.
More than happy to take this. Yes, Connor, first question would be about this page and the features by group, kind of an overview page about what kind of features they were working on. Amar and I found that the static or the SAST MR widget, which we are speaking about, like strictly speaking, there is no such thing. There is the secure MR widget, which is taking care of a lot of different scanners. Therefore, this widget is currently attributed on this page with Threat Insights, which is definitely not wrong, but it might not be the complete picture. So let me quickly search for the weird name once more. Security scan summary. That is where it's currently at.
Yeah.
Yep. So we've been thinking about whether or how we would like to change this. A couple of thoughts that already have been mentioned would be to maybe split this up as if in like this. So first step would be to definitely rename it to MR widget, because that name is much more common. than this one. And the second thing to discuss is whether or not we want to be splitting this between the teams. Amar made a very good point that it might become harder then to actually address the correct team if you run into issues and are just looking for the page. Still, it is kind of the complete picture, so it's a little bit of a tough problem. What do you think?
So the features that like feed this page, they're used for a lot of things. It's like the marketing site and everything. I think even if you click like security scan summary, that thing got highlighted, it goes to like a release post from 13.5, not even the documentation. But this ends up on like on there's a page on the website that's just like list of features or something. Like not even in the header. It's a weird. But we can make that file work however it ought to, or like make this list work however it ought to. I actually noticed on the features by group it has security scanning ID integration in like 8 places, because when I make the feature, I see like just the right of your mouse there. I tagged that I was relating to all these categories, and so it shows up under like every group. So this page is kind of busted for some things. The actual like substantive issue is of like who actually has responsibility for this area. I don't know that we settled on like a long-term ownership, but we did the attack analysis was going to push the this type of thing at least in the initial build out, because static analysis findings are uniquely valuable in the MRDiff and in the IDE. So that's where we broke it down, at least within the product groups, like between the groups, between expert insights and static analysis, that like stuff that's mostly about static analysis, like we're going to push on. This was a corollary would be that we'd keep it, but I don't know that we've actually, officially decided that. I've been talking a lot. Does that answer the question or no? I can try again.
I understand the problem. I'm still trying to come up with a specific takeaway. That is my open question.
So okay, maybe I should ask why are you asking? Was it because it would be harder for people to know who to ask for support from? Is it error budgets? What is it?
Yeah, the first I'd say, and it is just something that we're definitely working on a lot, and it's currently just not represented in here. So that is why I'm asking mainly.
Similarly, once we roll this feature out, I think there might be increased focus on this particular area, and that might require more feedback. We might get more feedback around this area, more issues that pop up. So making sure we're routing them appropriately or have an official stance on where they should be going. I think that'll help identify in a formal capacity where we should be putting these things.
Okay. So one note, you won't see it on this page until the feature is released, because this page doesn't get features until
Does make sense. Yeah.
I mean, we can add it early, but the typical process is like when the release post goes up, you update the features YAML in the same MR, and then it shows up on the page. Gotcha. So that's what would happen if we don't do anything different. And then I think it sounds, I mean, tell me if you have an opinion. I would assume that we would be best positioned to debug or like respond to a question about how this works at this point. Is that correct? Like if a customer had a problem with findings in the inline diff being weird, we should ask this. They should ask us, right? Okay. Because if the answer is we would like to be the first line of support for this feature indefinitely, then that's a much easier thing to get people to buy in on. If we're saying yes, we'd like to raise our hands, versus we would like you to raise your hand.
Gotcha. Yeah, I understand I'm understanding more of the problem now. So first off, I personally don't have any problems with just updating this as soon as we release this. Like, I don't think that we should touch this process and just keep it as it is for now. It's other than that, it's like, I don't think there is a DRI for this specific feature, as if we are just dealing with multiple DRIs for now, and this page does not really have an option to support this kind of thing. So, and if a customer has a problem with this widget, from the client side, it really depends, as if in, like, do you have a scanner specific problem with it? Which scanner is it? Then it might be best to address a specific team. Or on the client side, there is a thing which is basically the core of the widget, which are parts that everybody or each scanner is using for the same time, and we're all working on this. So I'd argue that everybody's responsible for this. But I don't think we should have a fight about who's going to be the DRI for this. So in a perfect world, I would make multiple teams the DRI. If that is not possible, then maybe let's keep it like this, or roll the dice, or whatever.
Okay. I was trying to find, Amr, do you remember the page that's like their insights has, it's like, you know, the feature, like the areas and who's responsible for them? I couldn't find it fast enough. It would seem like we might want to have an update there. Although I also think, like, we've been talking about having like a support flowchart. Like, okay, is the problem you're having actually with the results, or is it with the UI? Oh, it's a result. Okay, which type? Like, okay, if it's SCA, don't ask static analysis. Yeah. That might cause this problem.
We could come up with a security MR widget expert who's just taking all of these things into consideration and triaging them. Maybe that's what we're gonna be needing at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't find that page either, Connor. I'll see if I can dig it up. But yeah, the primary takeaway then, or sorry, go ahead, Connor.
No, I was gonna ask a question that you started answering.
Yeah, I was gonna say primary takeaway. I'll try to summarize. Correct me if I'm wrong. Right now, we'll stay the course. We won't update this page until this feature is released. If there are any initial questions asked, the static analysis team will be first responders or first to triage. In the meantime, while this feature might expand to other scanners or other finding types, it might be worth exploring who is the DRI for this particular feature, or if there's some sort of shared responsibility amongst all. Connor, you mentioned we've been talking about like a decision matrix on how to route requests. That could be another follow-up or takeaway that we put together. Did I miss anything? Does that sound good to everyone?
Sounds great to me. Awesome. Only thing that I would like to add is that is definitely something that would be nice to take care of. I'm having doubts if that is our top priority at the moment. So yeah, sorting this out is great, but I don't think that we should stop with everything we're currently doing and go work on this. So whenever we have time to, then this is probably a good thing to fix.
And fix being like have this breakdown figured out. That's what you mean that we should postpone. Yeah, okay. Just want to make sure I understood.
Yep. No, the breakdown metrics is probably the best approach on techniques that I can think of as well.
So one more question, it might be for me.
Yeah, very last question. We had time to be respectful. Maybe let's just put out a question, make sure that we all understood them and keep the discussion async. It's simple but hard at the same time. It's about the the epic that we've been speaking about a lot, the so-called SEST inline findings epic, which is the unofficial name. This was named Enhanced Secure Merge Requested Experience at once. Was super generic and now renamed to Show SAST Results in the MR Changes tab to make them easier to understand and triage. That name is great. It does exactly what it does. Problem with that is it is not taking into account the drawer work and the detail work and the work that is happening on the overview tab, as if in the code quality and secure MR widget. So yeah, that's a little tricky to come up with a better name that does fit. So yeah, if anybody has a better idea on this, since this is a bit of a hard problem, curious about any proposals.
Yeah, I'll say I renamed it because there's like an OKR group of like two things related to enhancing the security experience in merge requests. Okay. I didn't want this to be that. I can spend a minute and try to rename. I wonder if iteration 1 and 2 map to the different bits or not. I forgot about the breakdown.
Yeah, that is.
I can try.
I'll give it another shot as well. That is what we came up with so far is looking into the generic issues on iteration 1 and 2. Maybe they need a little bit of polishing and updating as well, and from there try to chat GPT our way out of this or something.
Okay. Well, those were not too hard questions. Thank you for not saving that. Thanks for not saving the hard, detailed, technical everything for me. You shouldn't do that anyway. I'm just kidding.
No worries, all sorted.
Are you set up for your leave then, Yannick? You might have covered this earlier. You're out soon, right? About 10 days.
Yeah, I'm out within I'm starting to be out next week. I'm personally very ready for, and I do have a good feeling about the state of this epic by now. My main and only kind of focus for this week is to polish this thing as far as I can, especially for iteration 2, and make those implementation plans that we're mostly, or yeah, for all those issues already having by now, but to add all the details that I can to this and make sure this is in the best state I can think of.
Cool.
In a quick 30-second summary, if you want to counter iteration 1, there's 2 issues left. There's a backend issue that's in review. Once that is complete, that will be both of these, everything will be available behind one feature flag, which we will not roll out until iteration 2 is complete, in order to make sure the customer experience is the best customer experience we can provide with both these iterations with the right amount of detail. And Yannick is going to work on polishing out the implementation plans for iteration 2. And so if somebody would like to pick that up or has the bandwidth to do so, we can begin working on that. But yeah, the rollout of this feature is dependent on the completion of iteration 2. This is the main takeaway.
Thanks for summarizing this. Definitely nothing to add. Sounds great.
Okay.
Awesome. So any last minute calls, any more open questions, or should we leave it here? Nothing. Sweet. All right, folks. Thanks so much for joining. Have a great start to the week, and I'll catch you soon. See you then.
Thank you. See ya.
See ya.